Hi, I'm Leslie Lee again from the Department Program of Urban and Regional Planning. And I have the pleasure of introducing Julia Wolfson, who is in the School of Public Health, and she's in the Department of Health Management and Policy. Among other things, the main thing she focuses on are policies and programs that focus on food and beverage choices, diet quality, cooking and nutrition education, food environments, and the prevention of diet-related disease. One very interesting thing too is that before she came to academia, she was a professional chef in a Michelin star restaurant, is what I've heard, the rumor at least. A 3-star Michelin restaurant. So it is true. So we all want to become her friends if she invites us to dinner. And her favorite food, like others, she couldn't choose one main food because she loves good food in general, but she said if she had to pick something that she's particularly excited about kiwi berries, the few weeks a year that she can get them.
Kiwi berries really are amazing. If you haven't had them, you should have some. So thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you to talk about cooking in today's food system. So our food system and the food environments in which we all live have changed dramatically over the last several decades. As shown here, the role of foods away from home have increased substantially over the past half century. And these foods, which include restaurants, fast food, takeout, and delivery, are all associated with higher caloric intake, larger portion sizes, with higher rates of obesity and other diet-related diseases. And by comparison, these foods make the foods that we eat at home seem healthier. A lot of scholarly attention has been directed at these away-from-home foods, but even though they comprise more of our daily energy intake now than they have in the past, and about 50% of our household food expenditures, still that means that half of our expenditures and 2/3 of our daily energy intake comes from foods that we prepare and consume at home. And we know that these foods at home have changed as well, of course. Specifically, evidence suggests that the way we cook has changed. For one thing, we spend less time cooking now than in the past. And some evidence suggests that cooking skills have declined, that people are less confident in their cooking abilities, they enjoy cooking less, and that young people especially are going out into the world without really knowing how to prepare their own food. And there are many reasons for this, of course, one being technological changes and advancements, another is female workforce participation, but then of course there are convenience foods. The development of hundreds of thousands of processed, packaged, and pre-prepared products that have changed the nature of food preparation in home kitchens. So to find out about cooking behavior, we asked people about it in big national surveys and small surveys, and specifically we mostly asked people this question or some variation of it. And just take a moment and answer this question for yourself. How often do you or someone in your household cook dinner? Given the prevailing narratives about how people don't cook anymore, don't know how to cook, and how about we all, and especially low-income people, rely on fast food, it may surprise you to learn that Americans consistently report that they cook dinner really, really frequently, on average 5 nights a week. Oops, where am I showing? There we go. Those should all be 66% or so, 62% cooking dinner 5 or more times a week. But what is this question really telling us? And again, think for a moment about yourself. What kinds of things did you include in your answer? Did you make some distinctions about certain foods, meals, or preparations that maybe didn't count as cooking? For example, would you say you cooked dinner if you made macaroni and cheese? What about if you steamed this bag of sweet potatoes in the microwave? Does it matter, or is it any different than cutting up some sweet potatoes and steaming them on the stove? And is it any different than microwaving this frozen dinner? What about preparing some other frozen items? What if you make them in the oven or combine them with other things that you've made yourself from scratch or something? What about making a salad? Does it matter if you cut the veggies yourself? And of course this matters for health because some of these things are healthy and some of these things are more similar to fast food. In recent research, we've asked people about how they perceive what it means to cook, and we actually find quite a bit of variation. Not surprisingly, we find that most Americans, 83%, do agree that cooking using scratch ingredients counts, but only 32% think that cooking means only using scratch ingredients. And it turns out there are three main considerations that people take into account, and it's scratch ingredients, convenience foods, and the use of heat. And this matters for a few reasons. First, it matters for how we measure cooking behavior. These general measures of cooking frequency could be masking really important differences in cooking and eating behavior that are important for diet quality and health. Second, it matters for public health messages about cooking. Cooking is increasingly promoted as a means of healthy eating, but of course this may or may not be true depending on what you are doing. Third, it matters because we found that the way people perceive cooking is related to cooking confidence, attitudes, and behavior. Specifically, agreement that convenience foods count as cooking is associated with lower confidence and less scratch cooking. And finally, how we all perceive cooking is important for how we think about the skills and the areas of knowledge that are necessary to cook and eat healthfully in today's food system. This has implications for the development and implementation of nutrition education and policies to increase access to healthy food and decrease barriers to healthy eating. And it's clear that cooking means things to different people and that the way we cook has changed, just as our food system has changed over the past few decades. And evidence suggests that some kinds of cooking and cooking skills may be important for facilitating healthy eating, particularly among groups who can't afford to easily purchase healthy foods. Contrary to perceptions that we've all stopped cooking and rely on fast food and other restaurants, people still say they cook all the time, and greater understanding about cooking is critical for efforts to improve the way we interact with our food environment and ultimately improve the public's health. Thank you.